Hello there. Welcome back to Tales from Tosche Station. All right, guys. Well, better late than never, right? Well, reason I say that is because we're back with another character breakdown this week. It's one that I planned to do earlier in the year. I just didn't get around to it, and then Bad Batch happened. Everything got chaotic. So forgive me, people. But we're getting it done now. Who we breaking down, Jacob? Well, I'll tell you guys. It's a little known character known as the Emperor's Hand, or Luke's future wife, or just one of the many badass women that have perused the Star Wars galaxy. I'm talking about none other than Mara Jade Skywalker. So without any further ado, hey Chewie, punch it. Let's get into it. All right, so to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown here, I'm going to break this character breakdown up into three sections. Three sections, there we go. It's better. Mainly because Mara Jade has such a she's got such a strong backing from the fan base and just an overall just rich history that I don't think I could do in one like 30-minute video. I'm just gonna be candid with you guys. So with that end, I'm gonna break this down into three sections. Her introduction to when Kyle Katarn rescues her, her apprenticeship to Kyle Katarn, to the end of the Yuzong Vong War, and then the end of the Yuzong Vong War to her death by the hands of her nephew, Darth Caedus. So, yep, let's get into it. So, Mara Jade was first introduced in the Heir of the Empire trilogy by Timothy Zahn in the 90s, that introduced another fan favorite character to the masses for the first time, and that would be Grand Admiral Thrawn. And before the timeline of the books, she was the Emperor's Hand, his master assassin that would hunt down the remaining Jedi in the galaxy as she slowly began to plot Vader's downfall, and her ultimate goal was to take his place at the Emperor's side. And eventually, Mara was sent to Jabba's palace under the guise of a dancer to await one Luke Skywalker and kill him. However, she was secretly caught by Jabba's security, thinking that she was there to kill Jabba, and she was arrested and thrown in prison, where during the Rancor fight in return, she actually saw Luke kill the Rancor, and then after all that chaos, she was able to escape. And after that, she was able to escape, and eventually Jabba let her go. And after that, for about the next 8.5 years, she was a wanderer wanderer. She just was doing an odd job. She was a smuggler. She didn't really have a purpose after the Empire died until she bumped into a smuggler by the name of Talon Karr. And while aboard Talon Karr's ship, they discovered Luke Luke Skywalker's damaged X-wing just floating in space because he was on the way to I believe he was on the way to Wayland to find Druis Sabayoth. It's been a minute since I've read um, the Heir of the Empire books, so I might be getting a few things mixed up. So please correct me down in the comments. But but Talon Karr brings Luke in, and uh, because Thrawn had put a large bounty on Skywalker, Karr brought Luke aboard and took him to took him to his base. And Mara actually ended up breaking Luke out, and had to work with him to get off the planet, because the planet that they're on has and I really want to see the species brought back into canon, because I just think their concept is really cool. The Islamiri, they're essentially lizards that are force resistant. Essentially, like if you've got one with you, you can um nullify a force user's abilities as so they can't so they can't use the force on you or attack you, which I always thought was pretty cool. Um, so anyways, she uh actually had to help Luke get off planet, and actually Lando and Han came in at the last minute, saving them from Thrawn's troopers as they went their separate ways again. Um, Mara decided to stay with Card for at least the time being, as her force powers give her a warning of Thrawn's arrival, as her and Card's crew managed to jump to hyperspace and escape Thrawn before they showed up. As Card was building his new base, there were a lot of bounty hunters that were relentlessly uh, after Mara, and she decided to turn herself into Thrawn. Although Thrawn didn't trust her and ended up taking her hostage, as she ends up freeing Talon Card. As they escape, but later on return to aid the New Republic in the Battle of the Katana Fleet, which is essentially a clone a clone fleet that went missing during the Clone Wars. Again, this is a Legends book. This isn't canon. So the particular uh, way of how the Clone Wars happened was still very much up in the air. No one solid had a very solid idea of how the Clone Wars happened. So that's why, this the Katana fleet is uh, a little weird when it comes to how people receive it now when they go back and read it, which I'll talk about at the end of the video. But after the battle, she was taken to Coruscant to recover, as she was left alone, and she's in the Imperial Palace. It's somewhere that she knows, and she felt really angry at this point. In this point in the story, she felt like there were intruders in her own house, essentially, and she didn't trust anybody. But she breaks out, and as she's leaving, she senses an Imperial assassin team coming to kill Leia, Han, and everybody else, as I believe at this time Luke's off planet. And with the help of Lando, she was able to take out the assassin team, although she was ultimately implicated in the attack and gets arrested. While in prison, she found out of Thrawn's plans to use the Katana fleet, to use the clones, as told to her by Leia. Mara then remembers the Emperor's cloning facility on Wayland, Mount Tantus. Now, for those who watch the Bad Batch, you should be very aware of what Tantus is. That's the base that they were in the last 2.5 seasons of the Bad Batch. That the planet that they're on is Wayland. So a little bit of background there. That's why myself and a lot of other people thought that we were going to see a little bit more cloning. We might actually end up seeing it in the Thrawn movie. Just depends on what they do. I think it's very. I think it's essentially going to be the Heir to the Empire movie, almost to a T. So I don't think the story of Mount Tantus and the story of Wayland is done quite yet. But back to the story. Chewie breaks her out and takes her with them to Wayland because she knows everything. To stop Droris, Sabayoth, and Thrawn, and she is forced yet again to work to work with Luke. As they begin, Luke tells her to develop her force powers, and Jade comes to understand during the mission that she's still under Palpatine's control, as Luke promises to remove Palpatine's mental command once on Tantus. Um, they both have visions. They both have visions of Sabayoth as Mara begs Luke to kill her, so Sabayoth can't control her, can't take over her mind. Luke refuses to kill her, and uh, says, whatever you face in here, it's not gonna be alone. Luke and Mara confront Joris and a clone of Luke with Anakin's lightsaber, and the way that this clone appears is Luke's hand, the one he lost in Empire. I'm not going to pronounce his name because it's really stupid. It's Luke with two U's. If you want to look it up, it's a little ridiculous. One of my only critiques of the entire trilogy is the Luke clone character. I didn't like the naming, but I guess they had to do something to make you see it on the page, essentially. But anyways, so Luke defeats his clone, and Mara kills Joris, and when Luke kills his clone, that breaks the mind control command that Palpatine had on Mara. As a symbol of their friendship, Luke gives her Anakin's lightsaber for the time being, and later on during Palpatine's return in Dark Empire, she's captured at a meeting of the Smugglers Alliance, basically a secret alliance of smugglers that formed after the fall of the Empire, as a little known Jedi by the name of Kyle Katarn rescues her. And right now, well, this is where we're gonna stop, and because this next bit is really big in Mara's story and Kyle's, but I want to talk a little bit real quick about some things and how I would bring them into canon. So, well, I'll talk about how I bring Mara Jade back in at the end of part 3, but we've already seen Waylon and Mount Tantus um in canon already. It was in Bad Batch, and we never saw what other clones, what Palpatine saw in the first episode when we see him. We don't see what he was looking at, because it wasn't the Clone X clones, or anything. I think what that's going to end up being, it's going to be either clones of Palpatine, or it's going to be, or those clones are going to be the clones that turn into Snoke, or my theory, it's Jorah Sabayoth, and my theory is that Jorah Sabayoth ends up turning into Snoke. I've thought that for a while. I've ever since they announced the Thrawn movie, I thought that's what they were gonna what they're gonna go with. That essentially Thrawn is going to go to Dathomir and then go to Wayland and that's where we're gonna find Sabayoth. Maybe after everything's shut down, one of the clones survives, and that's Sabayoth. That's Snoke. Who knows? But that's how I would do it. That's how I would bring him into canon, because I think I think we're gonna see a lot of that in the Thrawn movie, in the Heir of the Empire movie that we're getting from Dave. And yeah, that's all I've got right now. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this part one. Just be patient. These aren't going to be these aren't going to be 3 back-to-back videos. I'm going to break them up a little bit just because it is a little taxing. So, well, until next time, guys, the force be with you.